everybody else has got one.
So this is my state farm agent.
Yeah, somebody.
Yeah, I did. Oh, yeah, but you need a blanket.
Got a couple. Here. We're at here. Oh, it's 4A. Hey, engineers conference is in San Diego. At least engineers conference is in San Diego. That sounds nice. Oh, is it? Jeez. On the Pacific? On the Pacific coast? Oh. Just killed.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the August 17th DeSoto City Council meeting to order. Start with roll call, please.
Daniels.
Here.
Michael.
Here.
Murdoch.
Here.
Ritter.
Here.
Lane. Here. All are present.
All right. I would invite you all to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. First item tonight is our consent agenda. Tonight on the consent agenda, we have approved minutes from August 3rd City Council meeting. Approved pay ordinance number 955. Approved ordinance number 2587 adopting 2023 uniform traffic ordinance. Approved ordinance 2588 adopting 2023 uniform public offense code. Approved resolution 2013 authorizing sale and consumption of cereal malt beverages on public property during DeSoto Day celebration. And approved resolution 2014 authorizing sale and consumption of alcoholic liquor on public property during DeSoto Day celebration. Is there any item anyone would wish to remove for further discussion? Or is someone ready to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor, I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as written.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Lane. Yes. Motion carries.
All right. Item 2 is call to public. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to comment about any matter relating to city business not listed on tonight's agenda. The comments that are discussed under call to public may or may not be acted on by the council during the meeting tonight. There is a 4-minute time limit. Does anyone wish to address the council under call to public? Seeing none, we will move on. Item 3 is old business. We do not have any, so we'll go to item 4A, consider ordinance 2589 rezoning request from R0 to R1 at 30705 West 84th Circle. Brad?
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. As you stated in your introduction, yes, we have rezoning from RO to R1 at 30705 West 84th Circle. The reason this request has been made is because initially the applicant wanted to get a variance from the RO side and rear yard setbacks. However, upon investigation, it wouldn't meet the criteria for a variance because it would actually fit within those setback areas. However, it would have been right smack in the middle of their backyard. So upon talking with the applicant and also consulted with Patrick, we did feel like it was reasonable to bring a rezoning or ask the applicant if they wanted to go through the process for rezoning. Part of this also is because if you look at the aerial photo in the area, there are several homes that have accessory buildings that have been granted that do not meet the RO setbacks, either through variance or before the established criteria for the side yard setbacks were created. So as you can see, this area around where the applicant wishes to build a accessory building does have many accessory buildings that are within the traditional or the setback requirements for the RO zoning district. And just for your information, the RO zoning district has 25-foot side yard setbacks and a 50-foot rear yard setback. The R1 district has a 15-yard setback and a 30-yard rear yard setback. So it does give them a little bit more room to put a building in the back of their yard. So we went through the process, took this to the planning commission, did the notification of nearby residents. Haven't heard any displeasure or any comments from any of the nearby residents for this rezoning request. So just a quick review. The R1 or the RO district really is designed for large lot tracts that are not hooked up to a public sanitary sewer. So that's why this area is RO. Now, of course, you can look at the zoning map and see that there are several R1 zoning designations. In fact, the whole east side of DeSoto, much of it east of Arbor Ridge subdivision, is R1 and RO zoned areas. There are some ag in there as well, but there's really not a particular rhyme or reason. In fact, sometimes I think, it could all easily be an R1. It all easily could have been RO, but we have quite a mix in this area. So with the RO, we have a lot of variances that come up when somebody wants an accessory building. And so in this instance, because it was possible for the variance, but it put it in a just kind of miserable spot in their backyard, we felt it was okay to go through the process for a R1 rezoning request because of as you can see, the yellow area is R1 and the subject property. While it would create an island within that of R1 within that RO district, it is near above. In fact, within the 200 feet notification requirement is R1. So I'll go through briefly through the zoning compatibility factors. We don't think it would be a significant change, or I feel it'd be reasonable to change to R1. Do feel like the R1 zoning district is compatible, or the land use is certainly compatible with the surrounding residential uses. Don't think there will be any residents that will be affected by this potential change. And there will be no change. The house will remain. There's nothing going to change with the residential tract. The utilities are available in the area. There won't be any change to police, fire, or school uses, anything along those lines. Don't see any environmental harm or impacts as well. Don't see any economic impacts that would particularly cause any issues with this potential rezoning request. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, the R1 change to R1 would have no real impact on nearby residences or create any hardship, as the use itself will remain as a large lot residential tract. We did take this through the planning commission and they did recommend approval of this change from RO to R1. Also, and then finally did look at the, as always, do the future land use plan and information in the comprehensive plan and feel like it is consistent with what we are proposing for the future long-term in DeSoto for the eastern part of the city to remain in large lot suburban type residences. So therefore, the recommendation of professional staff is to recommend approval for the rezoning request, which was concurred with the planning commission. So with that, I will stand for any questions the council and mayor may have.
Questions for Brad? Seems like a reasonable request to me. Anyone from the applicant here to speak or?
Oh, I don't see them in the audience tonight. They were present certainly at the planning commission meeting, and I did send them a copy of the staff report a few days ago. So I'm a little surprised they're not here, but
Not required. Any discussion or are we ready for a motion?
I'll make a motion. We approve ordinance 2589, approving the change at 30705 West 84th Circle to R1.
Second.
Just clarification, the ordinance in the packet says 2590. Is that right?
Oh, I didn't look at the actual ordinance.
I know you were looking at
I
the
was reading
report.
what.
oh, okay, yeah, we must have made a
I'll amend that
change.
to 2590.
Okay.
2590 is the correct number. Okay. Yeah. All right. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Carmichael,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Matt Walker,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay. Item B, consider amendment number 2 with Blue Water Solutions, Inc. for professional engineering services for raw water pipeline and delivery service system.
Yeah, thank you, City
Joe?
Council. In the write-up, they indicated that we'd entered a contract with Blue Water. Well, several years ago, this one, about a year ago, to do original study to look at the water wells, our oil field, and to determine what we need to do to clean the lines. We approved amendment number 1, which moved forward with plans and specification to bid out, which was done. Unfortunately, we received no bids, and that was to pig the line that went underneath the Kansas River and to clean all the lateral lines from all the wells, those that are active and inactive, back to the line that runs under the 216-inch lines that run under the Kansas River. We received no bids, so we broke the project out. One contract was for the pigging. The other contract was to break into the lateral lines to put some Ys and Ts, to have access and to jet those lines and televise those lines. We put both those contracts out for bid. We did receive bids to pig the line, and that was APS, and we entered into a contract with them. We did not receive any bids on the second contract. And so after that, Blue Water was trying to identify some contractors to work with. Kissick Construction was one of them. And we have been negotiating with Kissick to be able to do some work. So this amendment would allow to continue those negotiations with phase 4 of this work, which is working with APS to jet the line or to peg the line and do the inspection and the final report. And then also phase 5, which is to do the lateral lines. So this is an increase of $114,000. I think that's the total amount. $117,556 is this amendment that would take this project to completion, which we anticipate happening in June of next year, to be ready for delivering water to the water treatment plant when it comes online. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Questions for city engineer?
So we went to them, but they didn't come to us originally. Was there a reason they didn't
We didn't receive any bids.
bid it
So,
out? I mean,
Yep, I don't know if the timing of the market and everybody just was too busy to bid. But we didn't have anybody that called or was even interested in the bid. So we looked out to find contractors that do this type of work. Kiss Construction does this type of work, and they're one of the better contractors within the Kansas City area. They did our relocation of the water line for Sunflower Development to get out of the way for Panasonic's building. And so they were in agreement to come talk with us and discuss it. And actually finally started to work with us to price that work out, which we'll have that discussion at the end of this council meeting on that. So, yeah, so this is so that's kind of the reason. We didn't have anybody to bid the project. And so part of what Blue Water was trying to do was to come back and find somebody that we could work with. We think we have that. And then this amendment would finish the work with APS to pig the lines, and would also finish the work to do the cleaning of the lateral lines based on our discussion here later this evening.
Do we have to clean the lateral lines, and once we get the Ys and access points in, and do we have to follow up again with another?
Right, so the Ys and Ts are to give us access and to be able to block off the lines. So once the Ys are put in, then we're able to put in the jet rods to be able to jet the lines. And so, yeah.
Is that already in the contract with APS or whoever's doing the?
So that would be, APS is pigging the line. So the jetting would be,
Under, or whoever
Kiss
we
Construction.
negotiate with, it will be part of that?
yeah, so they would jet, televise, and then clean the lines. That would be their scope of services. And then Blue Water's responsibility is to coordinate all that, final testing, final report, coordination with HDR, who will be eventually working on putting the wells that are not in service back in service.
Any other questions? Is this this is a routine, what's the interval? When will we have to do this? Do you think?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. It's going to depend a lot on the water
Sediment
quality, but our experience, this hasn't been done since we've taken over that plant.
Not on the lateral lines.
Okay.
Yeah.
We pigged the 2 16-inch mains under the river and to the plant 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
So
6 or so.
When we do that again, we'll have a better idea of how much built
What
up.
frequency will we
Yeah,
should be
and we
doing?
hope when their lines are clean and all the wells are operating, that we have enough volume and flow and velocity that it minimizes any of that buildup
Yeah.
inside these pipes.
That and the screens will all be new, right? So we won't be pumping any sand into the well main system. So it's not a complication that we've seen.
Long time maintenance that's needed.
Any other questions or comments? Are we ready for a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We approve Amendment 2 in the amount of $117,556, bringing that total contract to $144,184. The contract with Blue Water.
Okay. Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Carmichael,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay. Thank you. Item C, consider bids for Miller Park Trails and City Parking Lot Improvement Projects.
Jay, you've had to come to a lot of meetings lately.
I'm a regular.
You are.
Are you staying for the staff reports later in the meeting?
If you want me to, I can. Might want to ask him. Sorry. What I'm here for tonight is to talk about two projects. We actually bid them together. First one being the trails in Miller Park. A few different things are going to be done there in terms of some 6-inch asphalt milling and patching repairs. There is a small section that needs to be removed and replaced. It's been holding water for quite some time. And then some of the lineal crack removal and filling. also at the end, once all the repairs are done, trails would be crack sealed and seal coated. We haven't done anything down there. We did a crack seal coat. I think I put that in here. Yes, I did. In 2014, and at that point we hadn't, and since I've been here, we haven't done any actual repairs to the asphalt. We have some, I guess you could call them cracks, but are about 4 to 5 inches wide. And we've tried to work on them over the years. Street department's tried to help with that. It's just to the point where we need to do some replacement on that. And then similarly, with the parking lot all the way around this building, same type of work being done, 2-inch asphalt milling, 6-inch asphalt milling, crack seal, seal coat, and then obviously also we would get new pavement markings on the lot. So timing wise, we are looking, I've told the, in the bid documents, it did state that they couldn't start until after Labor Day, just because of the car show and everything going on around here. So they're aware of that. And then looking at a completion date of no later than October 20th. I probably should have started with this. Joe's been a great help on, I'm not an asphalt guy, so helping with specifications, and Martin also helped as well. I knew what the problem was, and they knew how to solve it, so we put it together. So I learned a lot, but definitely not an expert. So we've received 2 bids on each of the projects, one from Advanced Asphalt, the other from McConnell and Associates. Advanced Asphalt was low bid on both the projects. And then again, these projects will be paid out of what we term our maintenance funds, which we have available for in the Aquatic Center and also in the parks budget. So I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Questions? Go ahead, board.
Was there any thought about, with the new parking lot coming in, running a trail behind like Seafield to connect the parking lot to the trail there?
No, it's probably a good idea.
I mean, I don't know what the angle is going to be there. because
It's
I
steep.
haven't- Yeah,
It's
but,
steep, yeah. Something I can definitely look at, but what we tried to provide was somewhat similar to the way it was before, but as you come out of the parking lot to the west, you would be able to get on the sidewalk, the new sidewalk that runs in front of the building, the old pool building. But that does take you into the parking lot to get back on the trail. So it might be something that maybe we get down to that curb line down there where there isn't as much slope and tie that in into Seafield. But yeah, on that, I think where you're talking about on the east side and the north side, kind of behind that building, it's a pretty
Too
good,
steep
it's a
there.
pretty good
Yeah.
slope. Yeah.
about
Yeah.
like, so connecting like the angle where that is now up by the parking lot, maybe just angling us past the old pool house so that, like you say, you're not having to come through the parking lot to.
Let me get my bearings here. Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
So if you're at the corner there by the parking lot, that's already there.
Mm-hmm.
And angling across towards where the pool house is to get on that sidewalk or something, just,
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
it would be nice that you didn't have to go through the parking lot to get on the trail.
Right. Right.
So coming, yeah, to the north of the pool house really is what I'm talking about, just kind of angling it over. Just a thought.
From that corner.
Yeah, just
That
where
white
the,
car
it's
is.
just where the corner, the south side of the parking lot, just
Right
having
there.
a trail run at, well, it could be angled or just a
Yeah.
L-shaped trail right there to hook onto it, just make it
Yeah.
so you're not going through.
The
parking
slope's not
lots.
as bad on that north side of the building, but on the east side, it's pretty
Yeah.
steep.
Yeah.
And we did also, I don't know if you've seen the progress so far on that lot, but on the east side of the old pool building, we need a new name for that now.
Maintenance shop.
There you go. We put a concrete slab out there because we are now storing all of our 3-point attachments down there. So the idea was that we would be able to get in there and get the equipment in and out and not destroy the grass there. So let's go ahead and put concrete in before we do that. But, I don't know, I guess in theory that could be used as well because you can get to that and maybe go off. I don't know. I'll take a look at it.
It
Yeah.
just wasn't, I just was wondering.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think I have any other questions
Okay.
about the trails. They're
Okay.
fine.
Anyone else? Ready for a motion then?
I'll make a motion, we accept the low bid from Advanced Asphalt in the amount of $32,785.30 for the City Hall parking lot improvements and $27,660.51 for the Miller Park Trail improvements, and authorize city administrator to sign the contracts.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Daniels,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Hunamichael.
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Item D, discuss funding for water main size increase along Lexington Avenue.
Yes, council, this is my item. As the design builder team of HDR and Clarkson was completing the utility relocation design, opportunity arose that for the relocation of the city water main, we could elect to upsize that. Currently, there's an 8-inch line that runs along the northwest side of Lexington Avenue, Sunflower Road and 95th Street, shown here on this map. It's a little larger, this black line here essentially is the existing main. It'll need to be relocated further away from the center of the road to just get away with construction. And while we're doing that, there's an opportunity to upsize that. However, KDOT's policy is that they will relocate that main with a new 8-inch main and have that be part of the cost, and that wouldn't add to our contribution to the project. But if we want a bigger main, then KDOT would be looking to us, so the term is a betterment. So be looking to us for the price difference in that. And so after discussing that with the design build team, they did come back. The memo in your packet, at the time I wrote that memo, I did not have the updated costs. I do now. And it's good news. It's substantially lower than we had initially thought. The total betterment cost, the cost to upsize it from 8 to 12 inch is just under $263,000. And I did upload this document to the council drive. I don't know if you've seen that, but essentially all that's being asked is just the straight cost of the increased pipe size and the increased fittings. No increased labor costs associated with this at all. So when we're looking at the advisability or the need to upgrade this, difficult to at this time really determine future needs on capacities and hydraulic performance of the system, but it is foreseeable that we're going to need a much better hydraulic connection between the elevated storage facility that's going, the new one that'll go in associated with Panasonic, our water treatment facility that's south of there, and the rest of the distribution system in town as demands increase. We have currently an existing 12-inch main that runs along Sunflower Road, essentially from 103rd Street up to the water tower at 95th and Sunflower, up at the northern portion of this map. It's a 12-inch main and this 8-inch main, and those are the only two links between our treatment system and the distribution system here that we have here in town. So pretty easy to foresee a need for a better hydraulic connection there. And given the cost difference now that we know it's substantially less than $400,000, I would recommend taking this opportunity and dedicating the additional funds, just under $263,000. We will need to account for that in our capital improvements planning, likely for 2024 or 2025. which I think we can do, well, I mean, I know we can do for those 2 years as we get into the implementation of the budget for next year. Exactly when these funds will be due is still not exactly known. We still have a road construction agreement to negotiate to finalize with KDOT for the 103rd Street improvements. This will be worked into that. And we do know that we will not be asked to fund this before the end of this year, which is good news. It may come next year. It might even come in 2025 after the project is completely done. That seems to be the most likely scenario, but can't say that for sure right now. So I think there's opportunities to adjust the capital improvements budget to account for this, and the opportunity is here now. And I think it's wise to take that opportunity. So I'd recommend authorizing this betterment expenditure and authorizing its inclusion into that road construction agreement.
Yeah, I think very fair betterment policy, right? I mean, just paying the increased material costs is, and as far as 8 to 12, I mean, I think it would be very hard to provide fire protection for very much more land. An 8-inch main, while it seems big when you start adding links to that network and considering fire flows, and you get further distances away from that main, you know, it could really be a challenge. We would be looking at an upgrade fairly early if that quadrant of the city develops anytime soon. You know, I think it's going to be definitely the time to take advantage of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a real fair deal for the city to get a new 12-inch main for $250,000 essentially. And it would be a real shame to have built a brand new 8-inch line only to come back in 5 years or whatever and realize that something should have been upgraded or needed to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's now procedurally though, I guess I wondered about how it was going to be funded or when it was going to be funded. But if it's really a revision to the capital improvement plan for 2024, 2025, what are we really authorizing with this other than,
Well,
that would be, what are we authorizing with this that's any different than us just having a conversation about modifications to the capital improvement plan like we have in regular budget discussions?
Good point. I think you are authorizing the inclusion of this into 2024, 2025 capital improvement programming. And I know that we typically go into those years with some contingency, some items that are often not fully known about the cost of those. So as we progress through 2024 and more likely 2025, we will know that this element must be a part of that equation. Technically, I think we're just asking for your consent to do that. The legal requirement will come with the road construction agreement
Right.
that we're going to implement. But the design build team needs to know now.
Right.
So essentially, that's
Because that's the other place where this will come up is when we approve that road
Yes,
agreement.
this
that
will be in it.
Will be in it. So again, it's consent to put this into that, to proceed with this in that agreement
That's
as
right.
opposed to approving this expenditure.
correct.
So-
Yeah, no, that's a good way to
But
look
it
at
is
that.
consent to basically commit this level of funds to this.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've committed to $2 million for this. Now that's going to be
2,262,000.
Yeah. That's right.
Any other? So a motion. What do we need?
I think did I put a
Did you put a suggested
No, probably
motion?
not. Just
So a motion for you to proceed with the inclusion.
I would
of
something like
of the betterment
Okay, so
cost
I'll
of
spew it out and see if it makes any sense. I'll make a motion to direct the city administrator to include the betterment cost to construct a 12-inch water main along Lexington Avenue, not to exceed $270,000, to be included in a future capital improvement plan, as well as a future road improvement agreement with Kansas Department of Transportation.
I'll second that.
I think that
Is
does
that
it.
reasonably confident?
Yeah, that's right.
Brandon, where you at?
I kind of summarized it a little bit.
It's
I was,
recorded, isn't
I
it?
was, a, I was a little bit, yeah. I was a little bit, I summarized a little bit, so.
Could you pull it off for recording at the time that you do the minutes?
Yeah, I could. Well, I summarized, I was going to read it back to
Read
you.
it
but
back. Go ahead and read it back.
Just to summarize a little more. So I have a motion by Councilman Michael to authorize the city administrator to include the betterment expenditure not to exceed 250,000,
70,
sorry, 206, excuse me.
70.
207,000, excuse me. And include it in the construction costs into the 2024 capital improvement project.
As well as a future agreement with Kansas Department of Transportation for road construction.
Kansas Department of Transportation. Construction, okay.
All right. And we have a second.
And he did.
Any further discussion? Roll call when you're ready, Brandon.
Lane. Yes. Ritter.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item E, consider ordinance 2590, which is 2589.
Mayor, so what happened, we had a revision to the packet to accommodate the rezoning.
Okay,
And I think Patrick and I got confused on which item was going to go where. So the numbering is just
we
slightly
got
off.
it.
Yeah.
Consider ordinance 2589, authorizing operation of certain specialty vehicles within the city.
Yes, council. So earlier in the meeting, one of the things you adopted was the standard traffic ordinance. And as you know, that's a booklet that the league puts together, essentially codifying certain state traffic laws as applying in the city. Over the years, the standard traffic ordinance has sort of progressed where there are certain vehicles that the standard traffic ordinance says they are not allowed unless authorized by the city. So the three types of vehicles that are addressed in this ordinance, essentially what we're doing is we are saying that within the city of DeSoto, the city is authorizing these vehicles to be driven on city streets under obviously certain requirements. So this ordinance would allow golf carts, work site utility vehicles, and micro utility trucks to be operated. The golf carts would be on streets that are 30 miles an hour or under. The other two vehicles are on streets that are with speed limits of 45 or less. We are advocating that a permit needs to be obtained through the city clerk for these vehicles to be operated on city streets. The thought was that Brandon would have stickers or some type of plate that would be issued each year for each of these vehicles. The thought is that you would get a permit that would run from January to December each year. Each year that would have to be renewed. I did prepare a fee resolution where the permit were just suggested would be $35 for a permit for the year. And the thought also would be that you would, so if you wanted a permit in October, you would have to pay the $35 fee, but it would only get you to January and then they'd roll over. We're also really not advocating any inspection of these vehicles by the city clerk. Rather, the city clerk would simply ensure the person applying for the permit would have a current valid driver's license, proof of liability insurance for that vehicle, and then payment of the registration fee. So with that, so essentially on the enforcement, for example, if one of these vehicles was pulled over and did not comply with the regulations that are set out in this ordinance, it would be a traffic infraction if the officer wanted to issue that. So with that, I will stand for any question, or, sorry, before I do that, I did want to note that we did not authorize scooters, the scooters that you see with the, extended handlebar. Those are not authorized by this ordinance, nor are what are commonly referred to as the pocket bikes, which are sort of miniature motorcycles that are not subject to being registered with the state. So.
Kevin, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I've kind of been championing this or poking it along a little bit, and I've seen it adopted in a lot of communities across Kansas, including my hometown of Larned. And it's interesting how, as Patrick said, the Uniform Traffic Ordinance defines these vehicles and allows them except for within cities unless approved by cities. And so if you Google it, bunches of cities across Kansas have approved them. Johnson County, only Edgerton has so far. But one of the models that Patrick and I and Rick looked at was City of Baldwin. They've had theirs around for about 10 years or so. And I think it's really in keeping with our community character in that it's a large lot, rural. You see a lot of people that have the worksite utility vehicles, which are also UTVs or gators. It's a gator, basically a gator. Also the razors, if you're familiar with those kinds of things. Micro utility trucks are just that. They're little bitty pickups. They're like Datsun still makes a little bitty micro utility truck. And then, golf carts, we might as well tag them all along with it because they tend to be packaged together when you look at what communities approve. And kind of in the part of keeping with the character of our city, we've also got, the area around the golf course in town where it would let people ride a golf cart from their house to the golf course, that kind of thing. You tend to see them, or at least I've tended to see them in the smaller communities. And we talk about, our small town character. They really become kind of a social thing as well, where it's something that you're running from one person's house to another or something like that. Yeah, it is an alternative source of transportation. Yes, they do have utility function to them, if you will. But whether it's the school district running them from one school to the next or something like that with a practical application, or whether it's, I think what we'll see is probably people entering them in the parades. It's kind of where it really caught my attention was I went back for Larned has an all-class reunion. And people enter their UTVs in the parades, and they ride them around and things like that, whether it's going down to the park for the concert or, meeting up around town. You see it become a little bit of a social kind of thing. So I think it's a reasonable and safe proposition. I've seen them in the city of Topeka, for example. They permit golf carts and UTVs. So it happens in bigger cities as well as smaller ones. And I think it really provides an opportunity for differentiation of DeSoto in Johnson County. So, what sets us apart from Shawnee or Overland Park or Lenexa or Latha? I understand Gardner is talking about it, but I think as for now, it gives us something unique that's really in keeping with our character. So that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Comments from Council Lori, you have anything? You got
No,
questions?
I don't have a problem with them. I think it's a, good idea.
Rob?
People are doing it now anyway.
Just one question. How many roads do we have that are 45 miles an hour? Is it pretty much 83rd Street?
Real good question. Isn't Kill Creek? It's Kill Creek
No.
30.
35.
It's 35 or 30.
Cedar Creek's 35.
It might be
45.
45.
So I think
Yeah, it might just be the one.
Yeah, my only issue is the speed limit of 45 on those, because we've talked about needing a traffic study because 83rd, our residents are saying 83rd is not safe. Bicycles aren't safe on 83rd. We just added extra truck traffic to 83rd. And now we're saying, let's add micro vehicles and smaller vehicles on the street that has and need to be studied and looked at. And that's our only street that's 45. And so it's one of those ones that's the only issue I have, is that if we drop that to 35 or 40 and take off 83rd Street that already has potential safety issues, we're saying we need to study it, and we just added extra heavy truck traffic to it. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I guess on the 45, the state allows up to 65. So we dialed it back to 45 because really all of them that fit that definition are capable of 45, or capable of 45 miles an hour or better. So that was kind of the thinking.
But we're throwing them into truck traffic area that we just increased truck traffic on, heavy truck traffic.
Yeah.
So that's where, I mean, on my bicycle, I pulled 42 miles an hour, but that doesn't mean that road's necessarily safe for it with the combination of type of traffic that's on it.
Kevin?
No, I don't have too many troubles with it. I mean, we're seeing more and more out at our place. We've had some folks move and then new folks move in, so we're seeing a lot more of these vehicles out there. They might as well be legal. I do see I do agree with Rob's comments about 83rd Street, but I serve over there in Leavenworth County, and they're running up 24 highway in those razors, and there's semis and everything else on that road as well. So I'm good with it.
Danny?
Not a problem. I'm good, Mayor. Thank you.
I did notice on page 5, top of the page, I jumped from C to E. So if someone wants to make a motion, if you can just note that those letters.
With the grammatical corrections.
Yeah.
No,
You don't want us to just
Skip
make
the
up
D.
a D to put in there?
D left intentionally blank.
Make something
Yeah.
up to add in there.
Intentionally omitted.
Intentionally omitted.
Um,
So the ordinance number is correct then, right? Because the other, it is 2589.
Or just done in opposite orders.
Well, like I said, I was championing it, so I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2589, amending chapter 14 of the city code to add new Article 6 addressing the permissible operation of certain motorized vehicles, and repealing Article 5 of chapter 11 on the same subject.
With the grammatical.
Oh, I'm sorry. Recognizing the annotate the paragraph identification on page 5 should change E to D, F to E, and G to F.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
motion carries.
Right. Item F, 2024 budget discussion.
Yes, council, the latest in the series of budget discussions. Unfortunately, I had lofty aspirations of having the budget narratives and the budget document in a more complete state before tonight. That should not happen. But we do have the next several council meetings to wrap that up. The action for tonight relates to the state budget forms, which actually represent the official formal budget for the city of DeSoto. Those state budget forms should look familiar to all of you. These usually comprise the last 20 or so pages of our budget book. These are the ones that get submitted to the county clerk's office and are the official budget expenditures and tax revenue generations for the city of DeSoto. So Exhibit A includes the totality of those budget forms. Again, these incorporate all the policy decisions that we made throughout the budget process. Exhibit B to the staff report has our budget calendar, and according to that calendar, we have our revenue neutral rate hearing and our regular budget hearing scheduled for September 7th, which is our next council meeting. So we're right on track with that. It'll be like last year. We know we're exceeding the revenue neutral rate, and we know we need to hold the public hearing for the budget. So those will be held at the same meeting, separate hearings. We need to publicize that in the newspaper next week.
Yeah.
So essentially, what I'm asking the council is for approval of Exhibit C to the staff report, which is the notice of hearing to exceed revenue neutral rate and the budget hearing. So as a reminder, our total mill levy for DeSoto for next year is 19.8. That consists of 12.3 mils in the general fund, 2.2 mils in the debt service, and 5.3 for library. Our revenue neutral mill rate is 18.527, so we've known that we'll be exceeding that. So that's reflected on the budget hearing. This hearing does say that both of those hearings will take place on September 7th, at which time we will have that in the packet at those hearings. So if there isn't any additional questions, asking for your approval on that budget hearing notice.
Any questions from council?
Not a question, well, maybe it's
Comment?
kind of a question or comment or something. This kind of goes to Rob, a lot of what you talk about in terms of educating people or informing people, because we got the letter in the mail that was that variance from revenue neutral. And at the bottom, it talks about, it kind of in big letters has increase. And it has a dollar value that is the increase of what that lower mill levy would have been at a revenue neutral basis. But it really isn't the amount it isn't the amount that my taxes are going to go up from the previous year.
Oh, is that correct?
Yeah,
that
so
is right.
It's from what it would have been.
It's an increase from what it would have been. So a lot of times you're talking about kind of informing people of what this dynamic is. We aren't a part of raising it that amount that's the increase. It's actually, mine was only about a third of that amount is what the actual dollar value goes up by. So I don't know if it's communication thing in here as well as what the action is, or what action is
Yeah.
occurring. I don't know, Rob, did you notice that?
Trying to actually communicate.
We're not raising it by that.
Yeah, because I mean, one of the things I've tried to tell people, it's like, okay, we can say we lower the mill levy. That doesn't mean your taxes
Go
aren't
down.
going up in dollar amounts. So trying to get people to understand, we are lowering the mill levy, we are being aware of it, but that does mean there may be an inflationary increase, but understanding two things on that. Number one, how much is it really going up, which the forms are not clear on.
Oh, no.
At all. And number two, how much the city's portion is really going up
Relative to
comparatively to everything else, to where it's, okay, here's the real bottom line dollar amount, what my taxes are doing. And by the way, the city is that much of it.
Yeah, because I get it. Because
Gain
when
that
I looked
clarity.
at it and I went, wow. But then when I looked back at the back of the sheet, when it shows what you paid last year
Yeah.
compared, I went, oh, that's not bad.
And right, I know that form should have it's
Compared to previous amount,
Exactly. It
but it
should-
highlights what it would have been over that revenue neutral mill levy.
or the backside. If they want to compare it to the revenue neutral rate, that's great. On the other side, then when you have last year's, go ahead and do the
Duplicate
comparison
the-
again.
Yeah, do the comparison again. So,
So with the proposed mill rate against.
Most
what
of
you
our
paid.
residents
Yeah.
are going to simply know how, dollar wise, how much. it's
Exactly.
increased.
How many
They don't-
dollars more do you have to
mill, half of them don't know what the mill is,
Mhm.
other than it's going to affect my taxes, but
Yeah.
literally how much is coming out of my pocket.
right.
Brandon,
Anyway, so that was just a comment.
Good
Yeah.
comment. Good to go. Yeah.
Remind me
Where that is. Yeah, I was just gonna say that form is put, the
County
thing,
puts it.
The county puts it
the
out,
things that are put on the form are not to throw blame on another level of government, are put in statute, which was passed by the state legislature. So the county must include that number. So that difference is set by state statute that's on the form. And so that it is inherently confusing, but I think the idea is supposed to be confusing. But to answer your question, Mike, it's under the finance tab. So if you go to departments, and then somewhere down there is finance, and then you'll see under the budget basics tab, you'll see kind of our communication that we put together. So we have a kind of a budget process. We have a property tax and mill levy, then we have a revenue neutral page out. And this is what we put together. Whitney and I spent quite a bit of time on this last year, kind of summarizing the revenue neutral rate. Into something we thought that could be synthesized by the general public. And what we did was update it. So this gives you an example based on, is it 10,000 or 10,000, is that what it is? 10 million? Yeah, look at it, yeah. $10 million of assessed valuation, and kind of walks you through the process.
So, but we're putting links to this QR codes in the newsletter.
Yeah, it's in,
Yeah.
it's out. There was a social media post about it. It was in the newsletter, and I believe it's going to be in the Discovering DeSoto that's coming.
Yeah.
So
It
we've,
doesn't mean everybody gets
Yeah.
follows the link or.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. But I would say, Kevin, that that calculation is set in state statute.
Yeah, okay.
County
It's
has to
just,
put
it
there.
is confusing.
Thanks, Brandon.
Any other comments, questions from council? So what we need to do is a motion to authorize publication. correct?
Proceed
Proceed with.
to approve the public notice of. Yes.
We ready for a motion?
Make a motion to approve the notice of hearing to exceed revenue neutral rate and budget hearing.
Okay, second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right. Item 5, executive session.
We need to pass the resolution for the fee.
Oh, well, yeah, we might as well do that.
If you want to do it now.
Let's do it right now. Good point.
To include the UTV.
Sure.
That's the only change in here.
Yeah.
So, resolution number 215, make a motion that we pass a resolution establishing fees and rates for permits, licenses, and services within the city of DeSoto to include the new fee for the UTV mini trucks and golf carts of $35 per year.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right. Now we have an executive session for land acquisition.
I'll make a motion, we go into executive session at 7:55 for 5 minutes to discuss acquisition of road right-of-ways pursuant to statutory basis land acquisition KSA 754319B6 with the open meeting resuming in the city council chamber at 8:00 PM.
We have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
For those in the room, the live stream video
So do we have a motion for? All right.
I think Lori's getting to it.
Yeah, I was saying,
All right.
now I need to find the motion.
What's the dollar amount?
196, 214.
So 197,
So 197,
so 197.
97.
97.
Sorry.
If you want around.
Yeah, I missed that one.
All right.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we authorize, the city administrator to sign the agreement, a purchase agreement for right of way in the amount of $96,214.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I only have one question. Patrick, since we talked about other companies being able to use this property, what do you saying?
All right. Roll call, please.
Murdoch,
Yes,
Ritter,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Hunamichael.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Advisory reports, city administrator.
Nothing from me this evening, council. Thank you.
Okay.
Same for me.
All right. City planner.
Planning Commission on the 22nd, and we'll be getting it back really soon. Maybe tonight.
City engineer.
Yes. So I sent out an email yesterday evening. This kind of goes along with the discussion for the amendment for Blue Water. As we were trying to find contractors to do the work for the well fields and cleaning the lines, we were able to find a contractor to bid to do the lateral lines. We did find one to do the digging, the 216-inch lines underneath the Kansas River. So Blue Water's been engaged with Kissick Construction for several weeks to talk with them about the project, and finally we were able to get a scoping fee for the work that's needed to clean the lateral lines. So it'll be adding Ys and Ts to the existing lines to have access, jetting the lines, televising the lines, and then disposing of the water and generally K-Lite is the material that's built up in the pipe. That would be disposed of in trucks and hauled off and disposed of. In the packet I sent out, and it's on the screen, it's kind of the scope of services that Kissick would do. So they're looking at, working on 16-inch, 8-inch pipes. Some of the concerns is some of these lateral lines, these 8-inch lines, haven't been touched since they were put in. So we're hoping that we find those to be in good condition. So looking at their fee for each one of those, their total fee is $530,700 to do the work. In the memo, I've asked for a contingency to push that to $590,000. We think there will probably be some just because these lines are 30 or 40 years old and have not been dug up and inspected and looked at for quite a long time. And so we're guessing we may find some issues with some of them as we start to investigate and clean these lines. But this is all to try to get all the lines clean from the well fields to the main line to the H structure, which sits there just on the north side of the water treatment plant, where from there the 216-inch raw water lines continue to the water treatment plant. And this is all to get the lines clean and to be set for the wells that are operating and to bring online the 5 or 6 wells that are not operating by the end of next year for provide water to the water treatment plant. So we're just trying to do everything to stay up with the timing of getting the water treatment plant up and running for Panasonic and for the citizens of DeSoto. So if the council is fine with this, what I would ask is for a motion to approve to move forward. We will get the contract put together and either signed by the city administrator or the mayor, and we can proceed work. We thought about taking this to the next council meeting in September, but kind of time's of the essence, especially with some of the vows and the Ts. Right now, they are available, so we are trying to get this in place so that that's not an issue and a timing issue for us to do the work. And considering this, the fast track of everything, we'd ask that this method be approved and that we enter into a contract with Kissa Construction for $590,000.
And Joe, is this the contract that, the draft that they sent that I
Yes.
requested revision? So yeah, they already looked at the template that they want to make some changes to it.
Where does this put us on that overall budget for that project? Did we?
Yeah, so I was going to add, so of the $47 million, that's the current budget for the water treatment, 40 million of that's at the water treatment plant, 7 million is in the well field. And so this is part of that 7 million that we'd anticipated costs in the well field. You know, with the scenario with Blue Water being involved, there is added urgency, not just from a schedule of getting the new plant up and operational by 2025, but also increasing our raw water capacity for the rest of this year and next year, because we've got 2 concrete batch plants out there now at Panasonic and a third one that Clarkson's standing up to do the roadway improvements. That's going to add about 150,000 gallons of demand a day to our current demand. So we won't really see the reduction in demand over the winter months that we normally would see. So this factors part of into that as well. I know we're juggling a lot of balls now with, you know, the consultants, and this is part of that typically if we'd had 2 more years, we would say, let's wait, let's design everything, let's get one engineer, one contracting team, let's go at it like this. This was something that we've been working on for a couple of years already, that's already kind of works. And as Joe said, Kissick has the availability and the parts now to do it. And so we understand this isn't typically how, and it's not typically how we would want to implement this right now either. So that's a long answer to your short question, but just wanted to reiterate the urgency.
And it's something that the city is going to procure and contract for directly, as opposed to putting it under the design builder.
Yes.
Rather than saying, you know, that approve modification 1 or whatever to the design build contract, we're just going to do this independently.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
And to reiterate, that $47 million cost is being paid for by the development out there, not through our residential taxes.
That's
and,
right.
Sales tax, but
That's
it's
correct.
through the development, through the expansion of Panasonic and other Southwest growth industries.
Yeah, just Panasonic. Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
Anything from this side?
So we don't really have a suggested motion, so do we need to wing it? We need to authorize the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Kissick Construction. You keep nodding or go like this if I start to say wrong. Just authorize the city administrator to enter into a contract with Kissick Construction not to exceed $590,000 for procurement of certain water pipeline fittings and back jetting of our water mains in support of the overall water system upgrade project.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. All right. Assistant City Administrator. I almost called you Assistant City Engineer. So.
No, thank you. I have just a few quick things. Just wanted to point out some community events. There's a concert at Riverfest Park tomorrow, the Elton John Experience. On September 4th is the Doggy Plunge at the DeSoto Aquatic Center, because that's the last day. And then we are taking applications for the utility billing clerk position that council approved a few weeks ago. We're going to have our first round of review of that next week. So if you know of anyone that would be interested in that position, we would love to fill it soon. And then I have one more announcement. Panasonic has approached the city about donating an art piece for our public art program. We plan to have an unveiling event before the next city council meeting. We have been asked to keep the art piece a secret, but I will say it is an art piece that has been displayed within city limits recently, if you want to read between the lines. The arts policy, the public arts policy requires that city council authorize all expenditures for the public art fund. So I'm asking the city council to authorize me to prepare the site in accordance with the public art places fund policy. And the site will be right in front of City Hall.
Community center.
Community center, yeah. One building, community center, yes.
So we need a motion to authorize
Got it.
future funds to prepare the site for a piece of art.
Okay.
Yeah, intent is a concrete pad.
A concrete pad.
Yeah.
Right.
Concrete. Yeah, we'll have to do a little bit of dirt work and a concrete pad. That'll be the extent of it.
So we had a motion and a second. All right, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yeah.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay. Council comments. Start down. Danny, anything? for the group?
Nothing, Mayor, thank you.
Kevin?
No, I'd just like to thank Councilman Daniels for bringing up the fact that this industry is bringing things to our community and helping and assisting with costs that folks out there don't believe is happening. So.
All right. Rob?
Nothing.
All right. Lori?
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Kevin?
I'd just like to acknowledge that tonight we created an opportunity for business in the city of DeSoto. So any insurance agents or insurance companies operating in the city now have the opportunity to sell additional liability insurance policies. That's all I have.
All right. I have one thing, and I think we probably still have a little time on it, but at the annual LKM convention, we need to name voting delegates. So thinking about who might be going to that and who would want to vote. You going? I guess I'd ask that we name Rob our voting delegate. I'm planning to go as well, but name Rob our voting delegate.
Is that a motion or a thumbs up?
We'll make him.
I think a thumbs up consensus that Rob's our voting delegate.
Sounds
All
good
right.
to me.
Rob, you're carrying the torch for us. Thank you. And I think that's all I got tonight.
I'll make a motion. We adjourn.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're adjourned.
I'll mention it next meeting, but the second meeting in September, I will either be remote or absent one of the two.
Oh, you can be
I'll be, that's our travel day to Chattanooga, so.
Oh, I can't see.
Actually, we're gonna go to Murfreesboro, Tennessee for about an hour and a half away
Yeah,
from
that's not sure.
because the hotel's like half cost.
Oh, of course.
Versus getting there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be my travel day. So I think I'll be able to be remote.